Hey everybody, welcome back. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Jagged Edge. This is Ian here along with Chris.
Boom.
I think boom's a good word considering the amount of action we just saw recently. This is our movie
I am
show.
such a dork. Yes, I am
Yeah,
such a dork.
it's our
Yes.
it's our movie show. We got a ton to talk about. Both of us are pretty fresh off of seeing Logan. I think myself a little fresher, not even a few hours ago. And I think
This man Ian always fresh. Always fresh. In fact, a little bit fresher than usual. You are on a new computer now, so if he sounds differently, that's why. Maybe it made me sound a little differently. I haven't heard the recording yet at this point, obviously, but I probably still sound like shit. But I'm getting a new mic next week, so I will be fresher too. So at least
hey.
50-60% fresher next
Well,
week.
don't pop your collar too fast. All right, don't get ahead of yourself. Just saying. Look, there's only so much Chris Fresh I can handle. So
You're right. You're right.
but besides Logan, we've got a whole list of movies that are going to be hitting in 2017. Ones we're really interested in seeing, some that we're really not that interested in seeing, but they deserve to be
Yeah.
talked about anyway.
Right.
Besides that,
Well,
we've had a lot of stuff happening with shows recently. I know Legion. Hopefully, we can get a chance to touch on a bit of that and some of the other upcoming Netflix stuff. But go ahead, Chris.
I was just going to say all the noteworthy movies of the year for 2017 from this point on, including a movie that was released tonight, because we're still a little bit behind the eight ball here, so we're
Yeah.
getting caught up a little bit. We're going to be doing 2 weeks of Legion, like you said. We're going to be doing a quick review of chapters 4 and 5,
Yep.
and we got a little bit of Iron Fist news. But yeah, so let's get right into it. I was supposed to have seen Legion for the second time today. That got canceled, but I did see it the last weekend when it was released.
Good deal.
And you just saw it like 90 minutes ago.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much.
So, as I said earlier in the week, if you haven't seen Legion, let's you go see Legion, and then we'll talk about it.
Right.
Or not Legion, Logan. Sorry for all that time I meant Logan, but Legion too.
Oh yeah, for both. This is one. It's the glory of having things on stream, or even if you have like a DVR or something, you can actually tune back in and catch it. So, or there's the catch up. Episode. If you missed the first airing, the first time, you got another time slot to catch it. So there's plenty of room to catch this. At this point, Legion, I'm hooked. I don't see any reason to miss it each week besides being super busy, and even then, I'll tune back in and catch it on the flip side. So
Here's the thing. They almost lost me with chapter 4. They almost lost me with last week's episode. Let's just go ahead and get into that real quick.
All right.
Get that out of the way. Watching chapter 4 earlier this week, I think it was Monday.
Yeah.
I was watching it, and it really started to lose me. It's a beautiful show. At this point, I'm starting to think, well, it may be just a little bit too artsy at this point.
Right.
And I'm starting to notice trends here for the writing and the directing. That while this stuff is great because it's fantastic and different, if that's all they're doing in the show, then it's not fantastic and different anymore. It becomes normal.
Yeah.
So chapter 4, by the end of it, I'm like, all right, well, we're halfway through this season. There's only 8 episodes this season. We're halfway through, and we're really nowhere yet.
Yeah, and I think part of the question becomes how long are certain portions gonna wander, right? Like, I was really looking at episode 4 in the context of coming off of 3. Now, 3 I thought was a real cliffhanger. At the end of that, it's everyone getting essentially trying to escape out of David's mind. He was sedated, and it was his inner self, his child self that was guiding them around, and then the rest of the crew got to experience firsthand, actually see what he was talking about, actually seeing the demonic blob that he keeps seeing and all that,
right.
And then where that ended, everyone else makes it out, but he's still suspended. So what's going to happen with that? So here we go into 4, and we're sort of back to that exploration point again. It wasn't. I guess it wasn't as much of a seize moment as I thought it was going to be. Like, especially after an ending like 3, coming off of that, I really thought 4 was going to be more of a decisive episode than it was. So I can really echo some of what you're saying there.
Now the ending of 4 though was pretty cool.
Oh, the ending was nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Especially that crazy scene. The one that pops out for me is in the bedroom where he's being egged on. Uh,
Hmm.
he's being forced to watch that monitor, and then he sort of it's this crazy scene. He sort of fuses almost. I don't know how far I should read this, but uh, the fact that in the middle of his anguish, really he just kind of fuses personalities and starts to take the very appearance of that thing he's been running from. I thought that was a really freaky scene, and it cut, of course, real abruptly, and
Hmm.
then we're back outside to things actually quote unquote happening. But that was pretty good.
And then in chapter 5, we got some serious action going, and things are starting to move forward.
Yeah,
Trying to be a little non-spoilerish here. We'll go into some spoilers here a little bit at the end. But yeah, so things really start to move forward. Start to get some action. The plot is moving along. David is becoming very active
yeah,
with his powers. Pretty scary, a lot of things that he can do.
yeah.
Now, anything else you want to add to that before we get into any spoilers with it?
Uh, as far as just on a general level, I do want to mention a little something that's I guess you could say on the artsy fartsy level. I know we're saying that this is something that some shows want to steer away from lest you lose your audience, but there was one scene right early on at the beginning of episode 5 that I thought was pretty masterful, and if anything was a good hint. You could view this, I guess, as other things to come, but some of the things that are happening. It's a scene where David finally gets his moment of closeness. And what's the one thing that he mentioned, like episode 2? He would really have to be forced into having a romance of minds because with, of course, his interest, he can't. There's no touch, right?
Right.
Uh, the fact that he gets that moment, and then pan right next to that, there's that image of the what was it, like those beetles like crawling like over like the strawberries.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That was, yeah. I thought that was framed really good. It didn't linger long, but it was a really good contrast to that moment. So that set the pace for the episode for me. I was just waiting for, okay, is there going to be a bomb that's going to drop, or well,
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely tuned into this entire season. And one of the things I'm definitely going to do is when the season's done, I'm going to watch the whole season again because I
yeah,
know I'm picking up on some of the subtle hints that are going on in the shows, but I know there's also things I'm missing.
yeah,
And like listening to other people review an episode, they'll talk about things like, oh my god, I didn't even notice that.
right, right,
Okay, so let's go a little bit into spoilers. I have a
yeah.
couple questions for you because even though you're not the expert, you are my expert when it comes to
Okay,
Legion.
maybe I'll do what I can.
Okay, so all right, so spoilers come back in about 5-6 minutes, or go ahead, go forward 5-6 minutes. The monster, the parasite in his brain,
Yeah,
is
yeah.
that from the comics?
You know what? You got me here. I don't specifically remember a character reference or whatever else to this thing. The most I remember were his separate disjointed personalities who were all very outspoken in their own right.
We're not
Uh,
seeing a lot of that.
we're not, which is such a different direction. If anything, especially the whole schizo idea, really manifested itself way stronger in the comics. But this is just like he is plagued, haunted by this thing, and putting that angle to it really throws me off balance of what to expect. So no, I don't have a reference point for that.
What about the Lenny Denny thing,
Oh,
which also seems to be the monster?
yeah, yeah. As I was saying in an earlier review, I think a few episodes ago, we were talking about this. Lenny really mirrors a character that was very close to David in the late arcs of the comics. A personality once they sort of finished this whole defragmenting and really sorting out who was who and where was where to give him a sense of identity. This is one that he chose to pull back into himself because he wanted to remain really close to her. She reminds me of that because there's this bond for her. I mean, you have both of them are junkies early on, and then episode 1, boom, like there's an accident, but she doesn't go away. She stays there. So I really see that as a way that they've pulled something late from the comics into something very central and very early to the series, and I think that's a cool touch because you know the best part about this, everything's suspect. You start to think, what's fiction, what's fact. What in between that, what is all of this simply David just playing into these circumstances or manipulating them, or his mind and his perspective, his imagination seeing. As a result of that, Lenny's a character that shakes things up. Anytime there's usually, especially something really traumatic going on, or there's doubt over what's happening, she makes him question, or she'll make him face something that he might not want to at that time. But she is jarring. Tim, I never feel she's a balancing force to the things that are.
Well, and yeah, Lenny, excuse me,
Mm.
Lenny is being very direct now, whereas before Lenny was kind of casually steering David in what directions
Right.
she wanted him to go in. So, and I'm sure they'll reveal this, and you probably don't know. So I guess I'm more asking what your opinion is than anything. Was Lenny a guy named Denny, or was Denny a manifestation of the parasite as well? And
Yeah.
to go all the way full circle on that, if Lenny was Denny and some kind of manifestation, who the hell did his girlfriend kill when she took his body and killed somebody in a wall?
Yeah. Yeah. Right. I lean more towards the latter on Denny, and being separate in a way that is its own manifestation of this monster. Um,
Well, so
I
then who'd she kill in the wall? I know they'll
I
answer this, and I'm not expecting you to have an answer on it, but
right.
that's like the biggest question in my brain right now about the show is who the hell died then?
Right. I mean, I honestly took that as face value for Lenny. I mean,
All right.
we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, it's weird because the only thing that you really have to go off of on his past memories, they've already said a couple times now in the last couple episodes that his memories are changed, edited, altered. So we can't really even go off of those because the parasite has been changing them
Right.
as they go along, so that he doesn't remember him.
Right.
So yeah, that's like I said, and I figured they'll answer that, but that's really stuck in my crawl right now is what's up with that? Who's in that wall then?
Yeah, and part of this too. This was touched on in episode 3 when they were trying to do the dive as well. There's some frustration of hey, you're still fighting me, you're still resisting. I can't do this. If you're going to put up resistance, he says, I'm not. Which it's a scary part. It obviously tells you he's not in control of all this. So how much has been rewritten? What's the real facts within that? And I think
Right.
I think a lot of that will be revealed once we, I think, finally see some of the motivations behind either the parasite or what installed that. What was the beginning of all that? Because we kind of veered off some of the stuff we saw about Xavier, those early stories and everything. That's enmeshed in this, but there's a couple of big bombs still waiting to drop.
Well, you told me that I hadn't seen episode 2 when we reviewed it.
Right.
You said that we got to see Xavier, or at least the silhouette of him.
Right.
But that person didn't have any kind of accent, and he certainly didn't ever speak in any way that I heard Professor X ever talk. So I'm
Right.
wondering if that was his adopted father, which we found out in 5 he was adopted.
Right.
So that's
really
the thing.
good point. Good point of revision, actually. So.
So a couple things real quick. His girlfriend, I'm forgetting her name right now. I know that's bad, but the whole thing with her taking over her mom's body and having sex with her boyfriend.
Yeah.
Ew.
Yeah.
Ew.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I get it. I don't really get it, but I think I can understand when you're a kid and you can't touch anyone and it's your mom, but so it's not but no, still ew. Still very much ew.
And I think you're thinking Sydney, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Make sure I'm basing that right. But yeah, visible shudder. I'm telling you.
Yes. Also, did you notice that? And I wonder if this comes up again. That when they were at D3 after David had been through, they just left the psychiatrist.
Yeah.
That was pretty stupid.
Yeah.
I think that should come back to haunt them. But for a group that's trying to recreate his memories and fix his memories, you should have taken the damn psychiatrist. Just saying.
You know, I can say at the very least, there's been some, especially during the previous episode, there was some honesty about the intentions. Of course,
Right. No, and that keeps hinting too. In fact, you saw a lot of it in 4 and 5.
yeah. David's of course starts to suspect. I'm just going to be another pawn, uses another weapon, and if anything, there's some honesty about that. It's like, well, you deserve to at least know the extent of your powers, to have access to that, to live as you should with knowledge and being content. Then we'll use you. So and that was my big thing too, as we mentioned right at the start of all this. Who's really on his side? Who wants to weaponize him? I think it's pretty. It seems like a pretty stone fact right now that the forces that be, regardless of their intentions, intend to want to use him in some way in a greater campaign because of his power. Of course,
Right.
one side wants to completely shut him off, but the other side wants him full bore. So
Well, no, it's funny because there's only one person who you can tell definitively is on his side, and that's what Sydney, you said, right? His
yeah,
girlfriend.
yeah,
You know she's gonna die.
she has to, at this
You
point.
know she's gonna
At
die.
this, yeah,
And plus, I mean, just the whole relationship is kind of in a metaphor of the fact that they can't touch. Well, now they can touch each other in their white room, which may not even exist anymore.
right,
But at least they were able to. But it's the whole thing's a metaphor of how so close but so far,
right,
and being you know going after someone, going after that the kindness and love and relationship, but not ever really being able to have it.
right,
So she's dead,
yeah,
and that's going to be a shame. I'm really excited to see the rest of the season. It is getting a little. Trying to think of the word. It's getting a little easy to read some of this stuff now,
right,
which is okay. Which they may be totally throwing me off to, because this is a very creative show, and they could throw another screwball. I'm going to say, and I think I said it before, that it looks like that they're being real weak on the whole schizophrenic thing.
yeah,
Which, when I first heard about the show, I thought that was really daring of them to do, but it looks like they're softballing that. I'm not a fan of that. We'll see how the rest of it goes.
yeah.
But still, it's exciting to watch, at least this season. Definitely going to stick with it till the season's over.
Same, well worth it. It's, if anything, despite some of the things that they're shying away from, I think it's still a pretty bold. It's still pretty bold creatively. You're breaking out of the formula of take a character, introduce superpowers, how they fit into the actual world. It's just that's turned completely on its head. We're really thrown into David's world. We're really at the mercy of the elements here. Can't wait to see what they'll throw at us.
Yep. All right. Well, let's talk about Iron Fist real quick.
Yeah.
I'll talk about this real fast, and let me just read my notes here, and we'll get your opinion on it. Iron Fist is being reviewed on Rotten Tomatoes. Reviewers are getting early access to the season and commenting on it, and obviously Iron Fist is highly anticipated. It is the newest of the Marvel Netflix shows, and the last one before Defenders, which comes out in just 3 months. They're panning it. They're kind of ripping the shit out of it. Reading a lot of these reviews, and I'll talk about what really grabbed my attention on this in just a second. A lot of them are saying that, unlike the other episodes, and I guess this is a fair commentary, whereas Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage have their own individual identity, their own feel. They're saying that Iron Fist is lacking that. A lot of them are saying, and this kind of goes into what really grabbed my attention about this, is that given the 70s kung fu nature of Iron Fist, talking about his origins, but even still just the character himself, that they didn't even try to go for that kind of 70s martial arts feel for the season.
Right.
I think that's a fair enough commentary. Excuse me. I meant to not hit the push to talk when I coughed like that.
We want to hear it. Yeah, go for it.
But I went ahead and hit it when I went to cough. But what's gotten me and what upsets me, and we talked about this a little bit before the show, is the fact that a lot of reviewers are saying that they're upset that the main character. Do you remember his name?
Not as basic. Now I am bad on Iron Fist, man.
Can you look that up real quick?
I gotcha.
That a lot of them are commenting that it's unfortunate that this character is not I don't, look, there's a lot of talk about this in movies and shows as of late about, and rightfully so in some cases, about not casting people in, for lack of a better term, appropriate ethnicities, appropriate races for the roles.
And I question that due to Iron Fist. By the way, it's Daniel or Danny Rand.
Right.
You know,
Which, by the way, his origins, and I've seen enough of the previews and trailers to show it, starts him as an American. His family's American. They have a huge company in
right,
America. But
right.
anyways, go ahead.
No, if anything, even just based off of where he's been in the comics and his basic name, there isn't anything that just screams to me, this character has to be X race, for example. I'm honestly, that's a point that I'm really willing to overlook these days, and more go off of how are they building the world, how are they building the narrative, how are they going to portray this character, and more importantly too, are there going to be other relations or tie-ins to other standing series? Of course, you mentioned Defenders, but looking at how they're going to marry and bring all these worlds together, way more concerned about that than you're Asian or you're white. But
Well,
whatever.
And maybe part of this has to do with what Marvel has done in the past. You could probably fit any ethnicity in Daredevil's place, and that would work. Jessica Jones obviously very gender centric,
Right.
probably not very ethnic centric. Obviously, Luke Cage is very centric on African American culture.
Right.
In the East Coast in New York, those things mattered there. I don't know. Maybe they got used to that. Maybe like, well, okay, so Iron Fist, and we're talking about martial arts and Eastern culture and monks, and so he should be Asian.
Right. Right.
Yeah, maybe Marvel set this narrative.
I mean, pop.
I don't think so.
No.
But I guess for the sake of commentary.
Yeah. It's tough right now because we don't have any of the source material to work off of now for Netflix. We still got to wait a second because we don't have early dibs.
Right.
The best we have is some original work, comics. In my case, I got Marvel vs. Capcom because that's my and Maximum Carnage. If you go back that far in Super Nintendo,
I know enough about Iron Fist and Luke Cage to know that they've been friends and partners for years.
Oh
since
yeah,
the 80s, off and on. And they've either just them as a duo or in the Defenders, or the two of them go hand in hand quite often.
right.
I guess for me, when I saw the actor for Danny Rand for Iron Fist, I thought it was perfect.
Yeah.
And just because he's kind of got that loose, free flowing, open minded kind of feel that from what little I have seen of the character, because I don't follow him regularly in comics or any other media, I saw it and I'm like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. This makes sense for this character. I guess I don't know what else to say. I do think, I guess the one last thing to say about it is that I think it's really funny that people are getting upset because they didn't pick an Asian actor for this role, considering what Marvel has been doing
Right.
with their comics, especially in their comics as of late, where they have been criticized for how much they're changing up genders and ethnicities of their staple characters.
It's hard to please, isn't it? It's almost like whatever angle you approach this from. I think there's going to be some crowd that's disenfranchised or upset about it. Look, I see this as very personally, at least, I see this very similar to the argument of FF7 remake. That's going to be a whole other story we'll deal with in another show, but the same idea. People are saying that, well, if you remake 7, just give it to us with updated graphics. Don't change anything else. Keep ATV, keep whatever. Even if you kept all that, there'd be a complaint. Well, no, and then there's another crowd that says, well, if you bring it back, bring it back with bells and whistles, you can change the gameplay. But no, wait, no, that changed too much. No, it's terrible. It's terrible. I haven't even. It's a self-defeating argument, I think, and it's rough when you have all these considerations that are being made outside of the original context, looking at the type of foundations this stuff stood on. So, wait up, people. Do hopefully research a bit. I need to research a bit, and Iron Fist especially. But I want to give it a chance. Let's see how honest it is with basic material. What it sticks with, and hey, go from there.
My biggest concern from what I saw reviews so far is that a lot of them are saying that it lacks action.
Hmm.
That is a little upsetting, and that was also a criticism of the Luke Cage season.
Right. Right.
I'm a little worried about that, but besides that, yeah, it's going to come down to what you like. A lot of them have also said, look, this is good. This isn't bad, but the bar has been raised pretty high.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are saying this isn't meeting that bar.
See, thing about Iron Fist is I think there's always been for this series. There's a good chance make this the action one. Like I think there's a temptation or a habit to really make every one of these series or every one of these characters do really deep explorations of character. Iron Fist is one of those where I could see after the point. Every time I've seen this guy on screen in anything, there's usually been some awesome sequence or some really cool action associated with them. So I personally, I think it'd be really cool to see action ahead of the point, some of the deep analysis and thing after the point. I don't feel that I have to have this entire mythos constructed before I delve into those action scenes. That's actually what I'd be watching Iron Fist for. I mean, he's an extremely powerful character, so hopefully they show that. Yeah.
Especially, I mean, Luke Cage did lack action, but there was a lot of heavy stories.
Yeah.
In Luke Cage. There was a lot. I mean, that was some deep, grounded shit in that. I don't mean shit in a bad way. Just deep, grounded stuff in that season. So I'm actually kind of looking forward to something a little bit more lighthearted with Iron Fist. With definitely a lot more action. So we'll see. We'll see. So far, it's not looking good.
Yeah.
The fact that he's not Asian, irrelevant. In fact, stupid that you thought it was a bad thing. I'm just gonna say that's dumb. That's dumb.
We'll find out. See where it
Yes,
goes.
we will find out next week. That comes out. The whole season 1 comes out on Netflix March 17th, next Friday.
Man, renewing my Netflix is just reminding me of how it's the gift that keeps on giving. And by the way, thank you for kicking me in the rear about that. It started with Daredevil, went into a bit of Luke Cage, which I haven't finished all of yet. Shh. And
I'm not even saying anything.
and then now Iron Fist. So, is what it is.
All right.
Well,
so let's get into it.
Yeah, movies. Let's kick this off with Logan.
Yeah, Logan. For a second there, I thought you were going to go into the 2015 movie preview.
No, not yet. Not
Logan.
Not quite yet.
Logan.
Man.
Speaking of heavy situations,
right?
Of heavy narratives,
right?
Good Lord. First of all, overall feeling. How did you feel coming out of the movies theater?
3 words. Grit is good. At least the way Logan portrayed it. I thought
Grit is good.
Grit is good. I thought it was a fitting end to the Wolverine series. Though I'll be honest, one thing I really wish I'd looked into a little more carefully before I'd gone, and we talked about it some, but I wish I dived into it some more, was getting all of the Wolverine movies and some like the X-Men chronology straight timeline-wise. Everything we've seen as far as this was happening, because there's just this nagging sense in the back of my mind, okay, where were we sitting with his adamantium at the end of his run-in with Silver Samurai and everything? There was just a few areas there I was like, shoot, like I should have been a little more based on that, but I was just nodding. I just nodded. So I said, yeah, I mean, you clearly saw, I think, from the very get-go, how impermanent this all is. Everything is falling apart, decaying from the moment you enter frame. And I think that's a really strong device they use throughout everything. Through Logan himself, of course, his physical condition, his body, the types of relationships between characters. You look at Professor X and Logan, where they stood. You could just write a book on that going on. But coming out of the theater, like I said, I thought it was a fitting ending. Really felt that they carried that narrative, that like deconstruction that decay really well, and thought it fit. Good ending.
So, just a little bit of a warning here because we are a little bit new to the whole movie reviewing thing. Um, we're not going to have a non-spoiler and spoiler section for this. This
Right.
is going to be spoilers sprinkled all over through this. So,
Disclaimer.
you know,
Disclaimer.
and we are doing this a week later from the movie being released. So if you haven't seen it at this point, I mean, you're obviously not the hugest of fans, and you probably don't care too much. But or maybe you do. I don't know. I guess in that case, I apologize. So this, yeah, I agree with a lot of what you're saying. This movie was great. It's the end for Hugh Jackman. It's the end for Patrick Stewart. To be quite honest with you, you know that my feelings on the X-Men universe in the movie universe as a whole is a convoluted clusterfuck.
Yeah.
So, in my opinion, this should be the end of that as well. This is the best note they're ever going to end on for that. And from this point on, they should build off a Deadpool, an X Factor, and in several years bring in a whole new X-Men in like an X Factor movie or an X Force movie. I'm sorry, in an X Force movie, and have the new X-Men, the new characters or the new cast kind of come in at the end or something and reveal them that way.
Yeah.
They won't do that, but they should do that.
Yeah, any further stretching out of this thing of a timeline, that just stop. I agree. This is really a passing of the guard. What I see this as, at least the end of it. You finally have the last two really prominent mutants out of the picture.
Right.
The rest of the X-Men are gone by this point.
The mutants are dead. By the way, people. Which, by the way, before I forget,
Yep.
Who do you? Because they don't state definitively. Who do you think killed them? Did Wolverine kill them, or did Professor X kill them?
That's good. You see, if we're sticking with comic canon, Wolvo did.
Yeah, Wolverine did it.
Yeah.
But this is not Old Man Logan.
Exactly. With the way they constructed this, though, I love how that's in the air a bit. I would not be surprised if Professor X had something to do with that. At least in assuming his instabilities, right?
Right. They kind of give you the pieces to put together enough of a puzzle to kind of see what had happened. And my impression that I got,
right,
especially because how he loses control and has the seizures and how powerful he is.
Right.
They allude to enough things. It's my understanding that Professor X is the one who killed the X-Men.
And I mean his seizures were like on like a mass intervention level. The area they affected, it was crazy.
Right, and that would be enough to take out a whole giant private school.
Yeah, if you think about it, I mean, without a stop. Look what happened each time. Luckily, Logan knew the counter to that each time that came up, and he was, of course, one of the few that could withstand that long enough to actually administer what he needed. But think about it. That going on for, 15, 20 minutes indefinitely?
Right. And I guess, and again, they allude to it without definitively saying the only reason Wolverine is able to survive that is because of his healing factor.
Yeah.
And that's why he and X-23 are the only two that can get through that. Which, by the way, on that point, when they are at the casino and Professor X is having one of those seizures, how twisted, at the same time, completely appropriate, but how twisted was it that Wolverine is just shoving his claws in those guys' heads?
It's something out of one of those nightmares where you have like paralysis, right? Or like a sleep paralysis, and you're about to get just absolutely murdered, and there's nothing you could do about it. You just think about that. It's like, oh my god, like.
But at the same time, what else is he gonna do?
Right. I mean, there was, at least my part, there was no fault that I said, oh my god, we killed him. No, I get it. That was, he had to act.
Right.
In a situation like that, but my god, just this is a movie that opens with dicing and ends with dicing, and has dicing all throughout in plentiful factors, mind you. Especially even done so, I'd argue X-23 on an even more radical level.
Jesus, that's a vicious little bitch.
Golly, man. I mean, just from we're not even. Like 10 minutes from her being introduced, and she's just, carrying a decapitated head along just like a lunchbox.
Yeah.
Just like Dang.
So let's talk, because when you talk about X-23, you're really getting to the heart of the story. We're talking about
Yeah.
the two major parts here, which is that the X-Men are gone, the mutants are gone. Professor X and Wolverine and I forget the other guy's name.
Um.
The oh shoot, the
Oh.
albino guy.
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't that bad? We don't. Ah. I wait.
What?
That can't stand. It, there,
What
there,
can't
there,
stand?
there's no worse feeling than you go through a whole movie, you get exposed to a group of characters, especially a really tight group like Xavier,
Mm-hmm.
Wolverine the Albino, and not remembering his exact name.
Well, he'd only, I mean, I'd only known him
Uh,
from, he was in
yeah,
Apocalypse
Caliban,
briefly.
Caliban.
Caliban,
There
yep.
you, yeah,
He was in Apocalypse very briefly, but besides that, had never been in any of the movies. I know he's from the comics, and in fact, he's played a key part in a couple storylines. That's all I know of him. Kind of cool that they pull that out of, kind of pulled him out of nowhere and used him. But at the same time, that's what they do with these X-Men movies all the time, to the point of it being annoying. But so you have the storyline with Professor X and Wolverine. Then you have the storyline with X-23, which is the main plot of the movie.
right,
The mutants are gone. No other mutants have been born in 20 some years. The rest of them have been hunted down. The X-Men were killed, presumably at the mansion by some incident. Yeah, it's a dark, horrible world for mutants. The
yeah,
rest of the world seems to have gone forward. Even using the X-Men as a form of entertainment, making
definitely,
comic books after them. Well, at the same time, they do allude to the fact that the comics are also giving notes to the few mutants that are left as a safe haven to go to. Um, but the whole thing with X-23, what did you think of that? Do you think that they did that well?
yeah. X-23 was a character that I was really refreshed by again by Marvel v. Capcom. I hadn't seen her in years. I did remember a very brief stint in the comics. For the way she was presented here, yeah, a victim of very early trauma and experimentation. I mean, my God, like the adamantium grafting at her age, like I don't even. But as far as the way she was presented, and her obvious, relation to Logan, the way she fit, into the rest of the film, I didn't have issues with it. The only other X-23 I had personally seen was late teen X-23, and,
Hmm.
I think that would have had a much stranger fit here. You know,
No,
it,
yeah, I don't think it would have worked.
and it's this idea again. The whole idea is this passing of the guard, this passing of the torch you have with this young generation of mutants finally succeeding Xavier's generation, Logan's generation, and they're really the last two caretakers. I see it as it sort of falls on them to ensure they're delivered to the type of chance at a future that they deserve. Not as much that it's their job to oversee that any longer, or make a school for the gifted or guide. Their part in that's over.
Well,
And
and which is kind of funny because at the same time, Professor X cannot help himself.
exactly, exactly. One key thing I want to highlight here too, and this ties into X-23 a bit. You spoke a bit about how the world is on. Even more proof of that. I mean, look at what Xander's doing. He mentioned there's that whole conversation with him and Logan near the end, and obviously Logan, killed his father. But Xander, in his experiments, trying to move mankind forward through artificially implementing mutant components or
Right.
cloning, and through any means, he just kind of views, well, there is this quote unquote mistake, but I'll take this and we'll use it as the next level for humanity, as the next evolution. So, I mean, what a way
Yeah.
going forward. There's still that hate and the same prejudice, against mutants, but it's like, well, you got useful abilities, so we may as well just harvest you and make use of whatever we can.
I mean, look, you have to get in. You shouldn't have to do this, but you have to get past the fact that there are huge plot holes in this story.
Yeah.
And a lot of that comes from the source material. Like, for example, they alluded in the after credit scene of X-Men Apocalypse about this corporation taking people's DNA, specifically Wolverine's DNA, from the facility and taking it. So they kind of alluded that we would be seeing X-23 at some point. But and it's openly been said that this world for Logan is a different timeline.
Yeah.
But they do this. They also bring up the fight at the Statue of Liberty.
Right.
There's a couple other things that are referenced as well. This is what Fox likes to do. They think they're cute by doing this. They think that this is all that the fans want, and they're wrong, which is why X-Men Apocalypse was the lowest grossing movie of 2016 for comic book movies. But whatever. We're kind of in a different vein here. The reason why it doesn't really matter too much here is because everybody knows who Wolverine is. Everyone knows who Professor X is,
Yep.
and that's all you need to know for this movie. So, whatever happened in the past doesn't really matter. But they do. They try to poke at these things. Oh, remember that? Remember this? And
Yeah.
I was reading a thread on Facebook about this earlier, and people were it's like their brains were exploding because they couldn't understand. It's like, well, yeah, but this happened in this movie, but that was supposed to be canceled out with Days of Future Past. But if that happened, then how come? I'm just like, no, you're giving them too much credit. You're connecting things that have long run out of glue a long time ago.
Exactly. And I think with that, you lose some of the key focus of what this actually is. In fact,
Right.
I'd recommend Logan to anyone who's sort of been anti-Marvel films, or really on the fence about seeing superhero movies. He said, you come into this with a very basic understanding of some of the main characters. And you know what? That's all you need. You don't need a
Right.
huge prehistory and construction. That I think that really takes away from the overall story and theme, and that is a key about this one. It stands on its own, and to have a proper ending to a line like this, I think that's the kind of movie you need.
Like we said earlier, I think this would work well as an ending to what they've done with the X-Men movie so far.
Yeah.
It's the best ending they'll ever get with them.
Yeah.
They won't. I mean, we've already talked about a couple things about the next X-Men movie coming out, Supernova or whatever, and
Right.
they won't. They should do it. Like I said, they should just continue on with Deadpool and build off of that from there. Do Deadpool 2, introduce Cable. Do Deadpool 3, which is basically going to be X-Force, and bring in X-Force. And then tease us like they did with Colossus, and maybe bring in another X-Men for one of the other movies and have them in that for a couple minutes, and then boom. Just when everything's all completely fucked up, and boom, here comes a brand new set of X-Men in this new world that they've created off of Deadpool. They won't do that though. So, anyways, we can only wish, right? But no, they're getting, they think this is going well.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, so yeah, Logan goes on its own merits. What did you think of the main villain, the clone?
Man, I had initially thought that with Xander's whole idea of replicating mutant abilities to further evolve others, or kind of artificially graft, that was going to be the extent of it. But cloning represents something I think a whole lot darker with all this, and where they're intending to go like that. If it required it, just simply creating an asset based off of a mutant that they saw was really powerful before. Obviously, someone really known, Wolverine. First thing I said, when I saw this guy step on screen, it's like, okay, I really hope Logan figures out a way to overwhelm his healing factor really fast, or something drastic,
Right.
because just going head up against a younger version of himself on a really, really powerful serum, that's not going to work. And actually, I thought that was a really welcome element. Here's why. Wolverine is so often shown as one of the key really important combatants, as far as melee combatants, for the X-Men. And really, in the past, whoever he'd take on, he could throw down with the best of them. It really didn't matter. But here, that's sort of out the window. It's like, yeah, he's got his powers, but he's not the guy you're going to depend on to end all this stuff. You had everything from other mutants to getting hit by pickup trucks, impaling shotguns to the face, I think that really showed the full extent of about how much you would have to push a healing factor to really break it.
It was very metaphoric.
Yeah.
And as it has always been, Logan's biggest enemy is himself.
Yep.
It was very metaphoric in that way, I suppose. I thought overall it was a little cheap. I think they could have done something a little bit differently, especially with given the years and decades of history the X-Men have. They probably could have brought someone in. Now looking at this a little bit myself, as far as where these organizations and all this has played before, they have done a clone of
Right.
Wolverine before, so
Right.
it's not they're not completely pulling it out of nowhere.
Right.
It was okay. I think they could have done a little bit better there.
Yeah. Probably a little
Very,
more.
very shocking with what they did, killing Professor X. Though with that, I for a brief second thought that Logan had killed him.
Yeah. Let me ask you this though. As far as um, antagonists and everything, and where we stood, clones versus whatever else, would you have been more for Sentinels or something like that, for example, than the route they took, or I don't know what else would you have proposed?
Sabretooth.
We have we actually seen him?
We've only seen
I
him
think
twice. We saw
that's
him in
right.
the very first X-Men, and then we saw him in or X-Men Origins Wolverine. We have not seen him since.
Yeah, yeah, and considering how much of a track record they paint out Wolverine at this point, even fleshing out his the story of his trip to Japan, the Silver Samurai, and everything without a huge exploration of Sabretooth, that has been missing from this.
Yeah, I think it was again, and I think what they did with the clone in its own ways works. I mean, it's okay,
Yeah,
but having, and I think it would have been a little bit of a better surprise had it been Sabretooth. And for people who don't know who that is, it's like you just take just word the dialogue enough to where introduce them as his brother and a mutant that they have been keeping around and
right,
fostering and getting stronger, and then even surprise them with his own adamantium skeleton or whatever. Fine,
right,
go off the rails a bit. That's all right. That's okay with this movie that you would have done that, considering it's the last one.
right,
Um, in the fact that Sabretooth would have won in their epic battle,
right, right.
um, I think that would have worked. I think it would have worked better.
Fair enough. Yeah, and I mean, and really, as far as direct antagonist to Wolverine like that, the only I was gonna say Phalanx, but that really involved the other X-Men. I can't really think of anyone else outside of Silver Samurai or his daughter, since that would really even be on that level.
So yeah, speaking of which, what do you think? X-23 is not a clone, but
Right.
is a genetic offspring. What did you think of that?
Fine with that.
I
The
was
whole
okay with it. In fact, it makes a little bit more. In fact, it grounded it, I think, a little bit more.
Yeah, it did. Instead of making some kind of complicated familial story or trying to say, oh well, separation at birth or some other weird, I no, it's really starkly set how sterile the environment she was born in, the circumstances surrounding it,
Right.
and I think that made it really easy to transition to Logan himself. It's too late, I think, in the series at this point to bring in some really awkward, maybe hearsay relationship that we just weren't told about that fit. No, the stuff in this universe is already enough of a mess. Uh,
They worked the relationship with her and Logan very well. I thought it
yeah,
was appropriate. It was I maybe slightly pushed Johnny a little bit, but you knew that was coming. But as
right,
far as the amount of cheese that you were probably anticipating, they did it. They did it very well.
yeah, and that especially goes in regard to her growth in a sense. The good thing about it is she always had a pretty clear. You saw a pretty clear path. I think about her where things were heading. That is, she innately trusted Xavier and Logan.
They
Uh,
had been talking, I guess, through telepathy for
e-
quite a while.
exactly. So it was actually pretty welcome having a character being introduced, but was already semi in the know, instead of having things at a complete non-start. Moreover, the fact that she didn't need any dialogue to do that at all.
Right.
I mean, having her basically completely mute until near the end, I thought was another effective tool. Don't get me wrong. I don't think that was to fool us that she just can't speak. Well, obviously she can speak. There's nothing here to suggest she can't speak, but it was a way I think to pair her very well with her caretakers without being overbearing or interfering with the rest of the story, which I thought was a cool touch.
Right, right. Backtrack a little bit. What did you think of? As we went off on the whole thing with the clone. What did you think of Professor X's death?
Ah.
That was tragic, man. That was
This is one that hits you in the feels. Like you said, for a minute, for just a second, for just a moment, you're like, wait, did he actually do that?
right, right. And then that's the whole thing that it appears that Xavier thinks that Wolverine is the one that killed him, and
Right,
he's taking him down to the trucks, saying it wasn't me, it wasn't me, it wasn't me.
right, right.
That was rough.
Yeah, it was just one that right in the feels. You knew that this sort of temporary Arcadia that they found, like the whole dinner with the family out the cornfield and everything, and none again, it echoes this movie. None of this is meant to last. Everything is falling apart.
Right.
Everything. There's not a single. In fact, I'd argue the only stable thing in this movie is the stability of a hope that there's a young generation of mutants that reach safety, and what that'll mean for the world going forward if they learn to dedicate their powers properly or uh, do what's right with those. That's it though. So in a way, you knew that there was going to be a really tragic end. I think coming, but I didn't expect it there, and I didn't expect it in that style.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, you. By the way, and I think we've mentioned it once or twice. Wolverine dies, people.
Yeah,
He
in
dies
case
at
you
the
didn't
end of
know.
this.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen it yet, otherwise, how can there? They've had him in so many bad, and especially at the start of this movie, it's like how he's tried to retire on a couple of occasions. Hell, he went out and he became Old Man Grizzly, living with
Yeah,
bears. They've pulled him out of every single kind of situation of him just like, look, I'm done with this shit.
yeah,
The only way Wolverine ends is by his life being gone.
yeah,
So, um, it, yeah. So you had to, yeah. Again, what you're saying too is about everything's disposable. Yeah. That's how it has to go.
yeah.
That has to be the way it ends. What did you think of all the little X-Men kids,
Yeah.
little mutant kids? Those are awesome. I mean, okay, did a lot of people in the audience laugh too when they're running up the hill and the fat kid's running?
I thought of you when I said Chris is probably having a field day with this.
Oh, I chuckled. I chuckled a bit. More people laughed in the
It
audience than
was
I
well,
did. But
you're kind of reminding me of sort of like Ewok.
oh
Yes,
yeah, but it's like, man, that little kid's going.
he was
It's like
going. He was gone, man.
there's a donut up there.
Oh god. But but no, like, I liked all of them. Especially
Yeah,
how we don't know who that the girl was who had the power to control some of the elements. I mean, she looked like almost like a precursor to Storm, but I mean,
yeah. You could
just
see a lot of that.
she straight out just jibbed somebody.
And when they
Like,
killed, what was the guy's name? Was that Xander, the guy with the hand? No,
no, I mean, Xander was the doctor
yeah, he was the
behind it all.
doctor. But the other guy, the way they killed
He
him,
got iced about six different ways all at
yeah,
once.
fucked him
Like,
up.
like, and you kept seeing this guy. He was just annoying all the time. You just
Yep.
know it's like, okay, when this guy gets it, he's gonna bite it hard. Question is who? And sure enough, we found that out.
A very fitting death, I thought
It
too.
was. It was. It was. But
He'd been trying to cage them. He'd been trying to control them. I mean, their whole life, him and the company that he works for has been manipulating them, and for them to like, we're gonna manipulate you a bit before we just take your life. So it was a little morbid, but it deserving at the same time. Sometimes you gotta be twisted.
hey,
Sometimes in life you need to be a little twisted.
yeah. And all of them exacted the exact, I think, kind of karma he had coming, for him.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
um, going off of that though, I know we talked a little bit about how how everything's sort of impermanent, how even some of the relationships are fleeting and everything like that. It's even some of the touches were kind of funny though, about especially the location of Eden. Hailing back to the comic book, Logan just getting fed up because like this is a bunch of BS. Everybody keeps feeding me this line about this stuff. None of this stuff exists. You just stop living in a fantasy. The humane aspect of that though, what I've always liked about Professor X is how even through all of this, he always tried to keep Logan on a path of there's nobility in what you're doing. You don't always see it, but this all has a purpose. This isn't
See,
meaningless, and it isn't just some strikeout mission. So
see, now this is the first point I think we're gonna argue.
cool.
I did not get that at all. I think he always saw Logan as a means to an end to do those things. But there's been in a couple cases, in even the original X-Men trilogy, and especially in here, which by the way, I kind of like. I kind of like Nutso Professor X with his saucy language and all that.
Yeah,
That's a lot of fun. But he runs his mouth on him, and he's done it before.
yeah, he has.
In X-Men 3, and I think even a little bit in X-Men 2, but especially in X-Men 3 before he dies. But he runs his, he's like, man, you suck.
Yeah,
You're such a disappointment.
yeah. But I think
And,
to that end,
which, by the way, doesn't have a whole lot of leverage when you're the guy who killed your entire school. But even still,
even still, yeah, we're left with some pieces on that assembled. But even still, I'd argue that would completely go against Professor X's character. He may have a very base, opinionated point about Wolverine and the frustration he's experiencing. Okay, let's face it, he's due to have some frustration by this point. The everything he's gone through, Logan, every lesson he's tried to drive home, everything he's tried to, it's like in one ear, out the other. Nothing sticks with this guy. He just wants out of it. He never really
right?
plays by the rule book. He does his own thing. He's not the team player. I get it. That's where the frustration comes from. But I think in the same hand, that's where he's sort of given up in a way. He respects. Look, this is the way you are. I get that, but I don't think he ever saw any of them as just pawns. I think the whole point of why he started that school was that greater vision, and
Yeah.
he still had that greater vision in this movie. I think he didn't have full faith that Logan could execute that, but at the very least, he wanted to show him that look, this is why this is here. This is why you do this. I doubt you have the capacity to do this at this point, but I'm going to show you what this is about. Do with it what you want. He's
See,
really
now
putting it in his court. So
I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that. And we're gonna get into, honestly, was probably my biggest negative, which isn't a huge one,
mhm.
but this is gonna tie into my biggest negative for the movie. I don't know, man. I got the impression that he, obviously he's going to Logan in this movie for this and for
Right.
help because he doesn't have a choice.
Hmm.
Who else is he gonna turn to? Albino guy? He can't go 10 feet outside the building.
No.
Well, he can if he wraps himself up. But I don't know. And maybe this is something that's come out of the comics. I don't think so. But I've always kind of seen the relationship between Xavier and Logan and more of conveniences that tie them together.
Right.
Logan is in no way the ideal student. Xavier, actually, I think Logan looks up to Xavier a lot more than Xavier looks up to Logan. I always kind of get the impression that Xavier has aspirations for him,
Yeah.
but doesn't really have a lot of hope.
Right.
And I don't like that. But like I said, I mean, in X-Men 3, he runs his mouth on Wolverine a couple times.
Yeah, and I think you know both our points I think are very similar, pointing to something centralized though about all this and about where he stands. Logan, you're speaking more along the veins of the convenience, weaponizing, using what tools you have at the time to accomplish your goal.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm seeing this as here's where these two marry. The goal, right? The point is, it's the goal. That's what he wants. Yes, things in the middle are a means to an end with that, but I don't think he sees Logan as disposable or just a pawn in that. The point is, and it's always been with Xavier, that overall vision, that overall goal. And I think he saw so much of that embodied in X-23, the others that may have been waiting for her, whatever else. Whatever he could use to accomplish that, so be it. To give her a chance, to give that new generation a chance, whatever else. I think this is a lot less centered around. I'm going to take that out of that personal context. A lot less centered around him trying to show Logan that you are the ultimate pure in heart, rather than this is the reality of what we're dealing with.
Right.
Like,
Right.
do with it what you
And
will.
I like their imperfect relationship. I think it's fitting,
Yeah.
especially in the context here. But this kind of goes in, like I said, this kind of goes into the negative, my biggest negative of the movie. And I don't know if you caught this or not. like we've talked about in previous episodes, the X-Men work as a metaphor for the treatment of minorities in the U.S. I mean, that's where the X-Men stem from. That's literally was the point of the X-Men. Um, my biggest complaint about this movie, not that I'm looking for a whole lot of
Hmm.
bright shiny goodness out of a movie where I know all the main characters are going to die.
Right.
So, I'm not looking for a lot of it. But at that point, at the night with when Professor X dies and, Logan's fighting the clone and the guy shows up with the shotgun and
Yeah.
shoots the shit out of the clone and then he points the gun at Logan
Yeah.
and he would have shot him. In fact, he tried to shoot
Yep.
Logan, but he was out of bullets. I was very disheartened by that. I
Yeah.
thought I thought that was just straight inappropriate because basically they just and it's fine. It's a movie, and these movies at this point loosely tie into the narrative of the comics, but that really to me felt like they were just stepping on the narrative of the X-Men.
Well, it was. I'd argue that was probably the most disturbing part, personally for me as well. But you see this whole mission, everything that they had stood for, and really that's all just sort of trampled, in this moment. I thought it was a greater point about where this world stood, and yeah, that sucks. That's just downright twisted. Like even if you go out of your way to try and do something, forget, this is what happens at the end of it, and because people will see things out of a certain lens and out of a certain context of what happened to them. Obviously, this guy's reacting out of pure anger, murder of his family. His wife's dead, son's dead, and yeah, he goes on like a vengeance spree. But to really just kind of completely lose any, I think rational opinion of where this stuff stood, that it sucked. I agree that scene did suck.
Well, because he shoots the clone first, and he doesn't
Right,
have to shoot the clone first. In fact, if he's gonna shoot either one of them out of survival, he'll
right,
shoot Logan first because the clone is trapped in behind the car.
right,
The
right.
clone is stuck and is not going to attack him. So, if he was doing it out of survival, he would shoot Logan first.
Yeah,
So it tells me that he's shooting him out of malice,
yeah. Out of
which
hate.
which out of hate of what's happened to his family, or out of hate for mutants in general.
Exactly, and that opens, I think, the larger discussion of I think not just minorities, but also I think that idea of fear of the unknown. Period. Those that stand outside of your social biases, the types of structures, the labels that people construct every day, the box that you want to fit others into, or what should be. Anything outside of that, any alien or amalgam to that is a threat. And the fact that just even their brief interaction like showed how much deterioration there was in that, it sucked. After all the X Men had
Yeah.
did for the world and everything, like this is still where stuff stands. That just golly,
And I mean that's brutal. That what the clone does to his family. That
yeah, it
that's
is.
horrible.
It is.
It was pretty much one of the few, and is the most lighthearted part of the whole movie, with the family, with lighter moments of
Yeah,
people getting along and laughing and camaraderie. That sucked though. That really, I
yeah,
mean, look, again, I know I'm not looking for bright sunshiny stories out of a movie where I know the main characters are going to be dead at the end.
right.
But that was like that was, I think that was a bit too much. I think that was a little bit too far. Have the guy point the gun and collapse. And let people make up their own mind on it. But you basically just said, "Yep, there's it's always going to be this bad.
Yep.
Even what you're doing right now, trying to get those kids out of trying to get them to Eden, is
Yeah,
pointless."
yeah. And the cycle starts again somewhere else. So boy,
It maybe if the criticism I get for that is I'm missing the narrative. I don't think I am missing the narrative. I just don't agree with it in this part.
right.
And but fair enough. But if you still think I'm missing the point, fair enough.
Man, uh, yeah. Hey, through the lows, the spotlights, and high, I well paced action, always a sense of unease. The whole story of being on the run, I think not just literally, figuratively as well. Logan's always been one that's been uh, escaping some demons,
Yeah.
and I think him trying to reconcile. There were a lot of moments with him. accepting the amount of blood on his hands, what he'd done. There even a few moments with X-23 about just saying, this you're just gonna have to learn to live with it.
Right, right.
You learn to deal with this stuff. I thought that was a real way to bringing his character full circle, showing that yeah, he's owning this stuff. He gets it. He's lived it long enough. But he's weary, straight out. And man, I don't think as far as for Wolverine, the films we've seen, this is the kind of exploration of his character I'd expect for a close. So.
All right, so I got two more things I want to talk about when it comes to this movie. Let's second to last one, the Logan's death. What did you think of that?
Okay, which part? The death itself or his burial? Like, I guess it's just the whole thing.
That's all part of the same thing.
Okay, well, it was pretty obvious, of course, we knew the main characters were headed. Whether who was going to do them in, though, I think that was something. I mean, there would have been a similar effect, I think, regardless if it had been an impaling or somewhere else or whatever else. But and the way he went out, I mean, look at it. The end, despite everything he said about just doing it for money, everything he said about just being in it to get something, just get out, he didn't leave when he had the chance to. Could have just left it all. Left the kids to their own vices, let them go, do their thing, try to get to the border on their own. But he ended up pursuing something that he found value in, that Xavier apparently only saw value in at first, but that he came around to.
Yeah.
I think that's the nobility in it. But also that that next generation of mutants honored that. Of course, X-23 did. Her father by all rights. Again, I'd say, for lack of better words, another fitting scene. But I thought there was a good dignity in that, and the way all of it went down.
Yeah, again, very very metaphoric. It's kind of horrible that again the clone gets the kill shot, and the horrible side of Wolverine wins, but not really at the same time. Then the daughter killing the clone, taking the shot.
Right.
Something to be said about the fact that she uses the bullet that he'd always carried around with, the bullet which at one time was thought of to use to kill himself, which is then used to by his offspring to kill that horrible part of him, to end it. It's all very metaphoric, but it's all good. It's not pushed on you too much. It's kind of obvious,
right?
But it's fine, and it's really good in that regard. I don't. There was nothing surprising here. There was nothing that was. I mean, I know some people cried. Did you cry?
I didn't.
You did?
I did not.
You did not. I didn't either. Again, you kind of know what's coming. At the same time, though, it was very sad. It was very touching.
Yeah.
Especially when she takes the cross and she turns it into an X at the end.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was fine though.
But
you know what's coming the whole time. On that, when did you figure it out it was the antimadium that was killing him?
I'd say with the first mention of it, I was still waiting for some maybe larger symptom or like sickness or whatever. But when they, I think it was around the second mention. I forget how far that was in the movie. But when he made that comment about what was going on like inside of him, it wasn't the doctor's visit. It was before that. But when he was talking, you're dying inside. He's like, yeah, I know. And I just said, okay, as far as I know, there's only one thing Logan would just brush off like that, saying like, look, I lived with this all my life. I get it. This is probably turning on me at this point. I said, yeah, it's probably his adamantium. Probably it was at that point.
I like the fact that this is out of the comics. While it's never killed him, except for the point where he is actually dead in the comics, and he's literally covered in molted antimadium. But it's been mentioned for years, decades, that the antimadium that's in his body has slowed his healing factor, and is a hindrance to his natural mutant abilities.
Yeah.
So I thought that was. I didn't catch on to it at first. The whole time through the movie, I'm trying to figure out what it is. Like, geez, what happened? Is this tied into what killed the X-Men too?
Right.
I'm trying to figure it out, and then it's like, oh, well, that was so freaking obvious. I should have figured that one out.
Yeah, I think there's a part of us that wanted to externalize that more than internalize it just to Logan. That is,
Hmm.
there's those loose puzzle pieces that you're always trying to connect. Of, oh well, maybe there was something else that affected all the other X-Men, that affected other mutants that he caught, some illness or disease or whatever. No. Obviously that wasn't the story. You have other tales like heck, FF7 did this. With Advent Children, it was very outright with geostigma being an external factor and something that didn't just affect soldiers. That those with superpowers, Cloud or the rest. Like no, it was just a general sickness that they introduced pretty quick. So I think the fear of going a route like that is you risk tying the narrative to explaining some of that. E.g., if there's some kind of pandemic, okay, now you're backpedaling, talking about okay, what caused said pandemic? Okay, who's still spreading it? Why does it still exist? So on and so forth. I think that would kind of muddy the tires a bit too much.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
so they stuck with the good route.
Okay, so I think we've tackled the movie as a whole.
That's it.
Giving it a rating out of 1 to 10, razor sharp adamantium claws. What would you give it?
I'm gonna give. Can I do halves? No, no half claws. Let's do straight claws.
Okay,
Straight up out of between 1 to 10. I'm gonna give this one. I'll give this at least. I'll give this an 8.
give it an 8.
Yeah.
Okay, where's it lacking?
Um, I'd say for this was it's a great. I'll say this first. It's a really cool way again to bring in people to the Marvel fold who've been really skeptical or like on the fringes. I think a little bit more about some of the prior decay would have been good. Like where some of the breakdown began. I mean we're told, we get it. We construct that and we build that ourselves. That would be good. And honestly, I have a pretty similar opinion about where the some of the slightly more forced points go as opposed to the rest of the story that we're led down. I'm with you in there. Those are, I think, really my 2 points. A little bit more of a prehand about a few things, and uh, where the rest of the story stands. That's about all I got on it. But otherwise, great. I was gonna say 8.5, but I'm always, I hold back on my tens and my nines a lot. That's, if you want to be honest, I guess I'm talking all around it. The best way I can say it is those metaphorical themes and things that go along with it. I'll give you a movie like Inception, for example.
Hmm.
Inception felt like I was watching 3 or 4 different films, all of which had their own types of narratives deeply woven and instructed in them, with a killer overall theme to it. So, it was as cerebral as it was action packed, as it was layered and metaphorical. I obviously can't hold everything to that standard. Everything's not going to be that. I get it. Within the context of a superhero movie and X Men, this went pretty far as being a good explorative movie and everything like that. But that's why I reserve my nines and tens a bit.
No, I agree. I'm going to cheat
Go for
because
it.
I am giving it an 8.5.
Uh,
But so I'm giving it 8. I'm giving it 8 regular Wolverine claws, and then
Where's the point five?
the point five is the foot.
Yeah.
Point five is the foot claw.
Okay. Deal.
So I'm giving it 8.5. It loses some points. Half a point, in only half a point for this movie because it doesn't need it. Normally, the X-Men movies for me lose at least a point over the continuity bullshit,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
only half a point here because it doesn't necessarily need it. Half a point for the cliche clone
Yeah.
that they could have gone in a different direction with that and it could have been better. Half a point for what happened with the farmer.
Yeah. It sucked all around.
I mean, and it's not even something because I can appreciate something I don't like out of a movie or a TV show. I just think they did that wrong.
Yeah. That was
But not total. It's still only half a point
yeah.
for it. So
All stellar reasons.
8.5 is a great movie. It's
Yeah.
definitely in my top 10 for comic book movies. I don't think it quite reaches my top 5 though.
I agree. As far as what we've seen, this is definitely up there. Keep in mind, if you're on the fence at all about thinking, is this Fantastic Four territory? No, this is
No.
way beyond that. So worth the watch. Definitely worth seeing.
So
Uh, I was about to mention. Speaking of worth seeing, there's a bunch of others worth seeing that we're going to talk about for of course before we end our show. But go ahead.
Right. Well, that's what I was going to lead into that. We talked about that a lot. So I'm gonna skim through this. So
Yeah.
let me ask you, because I had asked you to put together your top five for the year.
Yeah.
Were there any movies in your top five list that I didn't catch in this larger list that I put together?
One of the few, if only you didn't, was the Dark Tower.
Oh, Dark Tower. I get Dark Tower in
Did
here.
you catch that? And it's in
Yeah.
July.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in July. You got me.
Yep. All
I
right.
know you already mentioned the Marvel films. I believe you had Alien Covenant in here too.
Yes.
Yeah, and of course Star Wars. No, you encompass what I was looking at. Oh,
Okay. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go by the month, and when I hit the month that has a movie that's in your list, we'll bring it up. So
yeah, hit it.
the way I had structured this, guys, was I had structured this to basically hit any movie that would even be somewhat remotely interesting to people in our demographics. Because we took so long on Logan, I'm going to skip some of that. And mainly a lot of these movies are going to be mentioned, and we'll talk about them a little bit more. We'll elaborate a little bit more on ones that we think are going to be outstanding.
Right on.
And this is kind of a cheap way to do it, and I apologize, but we gave you a really in-depth Logan review, so I hope that you can forgive us for it. No,
March on.
okay. All right, so, yep, let's go with March. Let's see, Kong Skull Island. I'm a big fan of what they're trying to do with this. I think we talked about this once before. I can't remember if it's on air or not, but they are building a larger monster universe with this. They're actually starting with the Godzilla movie that came out a couple years ago, and this ties in with that, and that's in the same universe, and then we will see King Kong and Godzilla, I think, in a couple years together.
Sweet.
They haven't done that. It's been 60, maybe 70 some years since they've done that. So one of my favorite movies when I was a kid, by the way, is King Kong versus Godzilla back in the day. Do you know that had two different endings?
No. What was the second
Yep.
ending?
Well, in the American ending, King Kong won. In the Japanese ending, Godzilla won.
Fair enough.
That was a big deal then. That was a big deal that they put those two together. I mean,
yeah.
it's not like it is now where everyone's pretty friendly about stuff. No, that was not too many years after World War II.
So of course, the tension.
Yeah, we had dropped a nuke on them.
Yeah.
So
Man.
we're not chummy with Japan at this point.
No. No, and then you look at some of the other post World War II stuff that had come out, not just in like sci-fi live action, but then even the stuff that was coming out in anime. I've always said, if you read Akira as a post World War II film, look at it from that angle. It's some eye-opening stuff.
Oh yeah, no. Even Godzilla and all those large monster movies from Japan are
Yep.
metaphors for what we did to them with the atomic bomb. That's been well documented.
Oh yeah.
So Kong Skull Island, that came out tonight as we record this. People are watching it. Next week, Beauty and the Beast. A lot of people were saying that this is going to be the highest grossing movie of the year. This is actually kind of, I have no interest in it at all. I haven't even seen the cartoon that came out, 20 some years ago?
You never saw the movie, really?
No, I know.
Huh.
You'll find that I've seen no cartoon Disney movies.
Wow. Yeah, this one was kind of left field. That was a kind of odd announcement, like out of nowhere. I really don't have any specific need to go see a live action Beauty and the Beast. I'm kind of fine with the classic animation. I just kind of let it stay there in my mind.
Well, this is what they're doing now. Like Jungle Book last year was so popular too.
Yeah, true.
Power Rangers coming on the 24th. It's kind of funny because I had a little bit of interest in this, but at this point I don't have any. I think this is going to be a rental for me.
Can't blame you.
Power Rangers came out a little bit too late for me. I was already a teenager when the first season of that came out. It looks interesting. Looks like they're adapting it in an appropriate fashion. Unless I start hearing that it's fantastic, I will probably skip this. It'll probably be a rental.
Yeah, this was like my second, third grade Power Rangers, but it's still something that I just I'll give a nod to, but it's not something I'd chase, pursue.
No, the 31st, sir. Is this not on your list? Ghost in the
Here's
Shell?
one. There's a reason for that. Um, I'm really curious about this film. Obviously, Ghost in the Shell is pretty much a hallmark for groundbreaking anime. The ideas that it explores, especially some people try to talk about like dot hack sign and all that, being the precursor to some of these guys. But not Ghost in the Shell. When you talk cyberpunk animation, this is really where it goes back to. So super OG, super awesome series. The fact they're doing a movie about it, of course, but there's been some controversy about Scarlett Johansson taking the lead in that. That there
Did you say Johannesson?
I did. Johansson.
Okay. No, yeah, there was a lot of it early on. I don't think there would have been nearly as much if that leaked test footage would have hadn't come out where they were trying to make her look more Asian.
Yeah.
Had that not surfaced, they probably would have been okay. But since they did try to they realized it could be an issue, and they tried that. That's kind of yucky.
It is. So don't even. I'm very curious about this one, to where it's going to go. But I think that the rest that I had on my list just overshadowed it just a bit.
Yeah, I'm looking for it. I will probably go see this one. I'm really liking the style. I'm not a huge fan of Ghost in the Shell when it comes to anime. I'm not a fan in general.
Right.
Ghost in the Shell has grabbed my attention more than most anime.
Right.
What I think is pretty cool is the nod that they're giving to a lot of the anime. I mean, a lot of this movie is shot for shot, just like the animation.
Yep.
So that's really cool. I think I will go check this one out.
Cool. Then
April. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say April. You go from Ghost in the Shell and then to Smurfs.
Smurfs, the Lost Village. Do not make fun of my jam.
Okay, I won't.
I don't give a shit about this.
Oh man,
we talked about that before the show. I put it on there more because it's funny. Smurfs, the Lost Village. I think the only thing notable about this, and I could be completely wrong, but I could have sworn at some point I heard that this is an all 3D animated movie. There's no live action, but it's like they're using the same style that they use with the live action, I guess.
Right.
But I don't. Yeah. Okay. But almost as cartoonish. The Fate of the Furious coming out on the 14th of April. It is. Look. I don't dislike the Fast and Furious franchise. There's a couple times where I've sat down and watched some of the movies. I don't seek it out. If I'm flipping through channels like, oh yeah, look at that, it was a Fast and Furious, I'll watch it.
Right.
One thing that always comes to mind for me when it comes to those movies, I think it's the fifth one where they're dragging the giant safe through town.
Yeah, and they're using that as just like it.
Right.
Flinging it in everything.
That's crazy. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But that's what these movies are. A lot of people like them. Fine, like them.
Yeah.
I won't be going to see this one though. Not unless
not in theaters. Maybe on Blu-ray or something.
Maybe if I'm out on a date and they want to see it, it's like all right, whatever.
Right.
So that's April. That's the only real noteworthy ones for April. May.
Here we go.
May is loaded. Baywatch.
End of story, right?
I actually think I might go see this.
This is Dwayne Johnson, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
That's right.
Rock.
That's right.
He plays what's his name? Oh God, it's horrible. I can't remember that. I'm a freaking '80s kid. He's the main guy. Wow, I'm still trying to remember. I can't remember. The guy who played in Knight Rider and all that.
Hasselhoff?
No, I probably won't go see this. I don't know. Maybe. Maybe. It's mildly interesting. They're doing it right. They're not trying to make it serious. Right. Like, it's a serious adaptation. No, come on. Baywatch.
It's Baywatch.
Yeah, it's Baywatch, which did try to be a serious show back then, but we know better now. They're, the trailers I've seen, they're very comical. They're, it's very, very popcorn movie, very fluffy, and as it should be. No, but in all seriousness, starting at the beginning of the month, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, May 5th.
Hey, man,
this is in my top of 5.
Yeah, this one. Here we go. You want to talk about getting hyped for the next Avengers movie? Here you go.
This looks really. I mean, it just looks really good. They've done such a good job, and I think a lot of that goes to the director. While he is he's going a little bit more on his own on this one. Again, we talked about
Yeah.
this a couple of weeks ago, where they're, James Gunn is going on his own path with what he wants to do, but he's still taking notes from them, which he's allowed to do a little bit with Guardians of the Galaxy. Not so attached to everything else yet. It's obviously going to be very attached here in the next couple of years.
Right.
But this just looks really good. The attitude, the feel, the colors, the characters. That new trailer came out in the last couple of weeks. It's just fun.
And the fact that they're sticking with Baby Groot, love it, love it,
Baby Groot.
love it, love it. Reason enough to go see it right there. I mean,
Baby Groot's fun. I'm
Yeah.
not one of those. Oh my god, he's
right,
Baby Groot's
right.
fun.
But no, this
I'm
was
actually. Sorry, go ahead.
no, this one's a must.
Yeah.
For our Marvel prep and going along with everything else, it's yeah.
I'm actually hoping this is the last we see of Baby Groot, considering this takes place 3 months after the original Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, that's
which took,
right in the heels.
that took place 3 years ago? Yeah, that took place
Mhm.
3 years ago. So I'm hoping Groot grows fast enough that we have a full-grown Groot
Same.
for Infinity War. And a lot of people are talking about a Groot versus Hulk matchup in that. Even if you don't get Hulk versus Groot, I want to see Hulk and Groot work together.
Right. Oh God, it's freaking endless thinking the team combos you got going for that, but we'll save that. We'll save it. Hey, the one I want to mention here is Alien Covenant. I am a fan of the Alien films, of course, Ridley Scott in general. And you know what? I liked Prometheus, despite what a lot of
Did
people
you like
said about it.
Prometheus?
I enjoyed it.
I did too. I'm not one of those people that'll hop on the bandwagons like, oh, that one sucked. I enjoyed it as well.
Well, yeah, and
it-
no, the one quick thing about it, Ridley Scott has been interviewed about this multiple times, about I think his frustration about it, that when people think Alien series, it's all about xenomorphs. It's all about, the alien again, but the first time he really takes a step out, just steps back and says, okay, wait, hold on a minute. It's not about that for a sec. Look at the origins of all this and where it started. I thought that's a breath of fresh air for the series, but a lot of people didn't. A lot of people didn't like that.
No, they it's one of those things. They want you to hit the points. They want to hit the cliche. This is an aliens movie. Where's this? Where's this? Where's this? And even then, there were still slight nods to what we've seen in the past. But I think it's I think it's fine. There are definitely a couple things in that movie that don't make sense. The scene where she cuts where she has the thing that she's impregnated with cut out of her body. I saw this in the theater. I cringed.
Yeah,
You're not doing that.
That was rough.
Yeah, it was all right. I'm very much looking forward to this, because this is Covenant. From everything I've seen from the trailers, this is old school Aliens.
Yeah.
This is, and not even so much because you can see in that second trailer that came out, that is not your typical alien that we've seen. That is not your typical xenomorph. It is a little different, which is fine. But this has that old school sci-fi horror feel to it.
It does.
I'm definitely liking the fact that everybody in there, I don't know if you caught on to this, everybody there, they're couples.
Yep.
They're intentionally all couples. So there's going to be a lot of crying. Not by the audience, but by the cast.
Yeah, this is going to be absolutely wrenching, because
that was somebody's boo-boo every time he kills somebody.
Yeah, I remember seeing that part of that second trailer for this, and just looking as soon as one of those eggs, those pods for the face huggers open, I just closed my eyes. This is going to be horrible.
It's my understanding that what you see, James Franco is in this movie.
Right.
It's my understanding he's the captain. It's my understanding that he's the first one to die, and he has a very small part. And this is I forget the other guy's name. The guy he's the pilot. They have the beard. They do movies together all the time.
Oh, yeah.
He wanted him in there, so that's why that exists. But it's my understanding he's the first one. Like you can see in the one trailer, he's really sick, and that I think that's playing a role in it somehow. I'm not totally sure.
Right.
King Arthur: Legend of the Sword coming out on the 12th of May. They did the King Arthur movie in the 80s. Nothing has touched it since.
No. This is some ground that's been pretty well tread. Again, something I'm not personally going to get out in theaters for. It's one of those really worn themes that you really have to try to get inventive with it. The last time I saw this, someone really tried to take it and run with it was during. Did you ever see the Merlin series on Sci-Fi Channel back a few years ago?
No, no. I've caught glimpses. I've never seeked it out or anything, but I heard it. I heard it definitely did credit to Merlin,
It
but I heard that overall it was not the best.
No, it wasn't. That was the last real stab at the Arthurian myth that I saw, especially with specifically, the Excalibur and everything else. There were a lot of nods to that, some really specific mentions to the Lady of the Lake and everything else. But what are you gonna do?
Um, let's see. We already talked about Baywatch, movie of
Yep.
the year, winning all the Oscars. Uh, Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Men Tell No Tales. I honestly, I think this is one of the few movies on this list for this year that I wish they weren't making.
It's, I mean,
Stop it.
yeah, you just hear pirates, and I mean, I get it. The last one was like sort of, but it's like we get it, we get it. It's cool. Again, um, I think
These movies have been horrible since the first one.
I like Johnny Depp as Captain Jack personally.
The first one was good,
Yeah.
but I know to tell you a little bit of a story here. My dad loved the first movie, and he doesn't get into movies, but I would often go over there on Friday or Saturday nights and bring a movie, rent a movie, and trying to keep them up to date on something that didn't come out of the '70s. All right, so, I mean, I'm the one that bought them their DVD players, so I'm bringing over movies and such. And he had never asked for any specific movie, except for he asked for Pirates of the Caribbean 2. He's like, "Can you bring that one over?" Yeah, no, okay. I don't want to watch it, but yeah, Dad, I'll bring it over. He told me to turn it off 20 minutes in.
Ouch.
Yeah, he's like, turn this fucking shit off. That's exactly what he said. He was so upset, and it's been like that. And you had a lot of movies in the early 2000s that were like that.
Yeah.
The Austin Power movie is very similar, where these comical movies just aren't. They don't make any sense.
No.
They make no sense what's going on. And for some reason, Hollywood for a while there thought that was a way to make some of these movies. And Pirates of the Caribbean, at least the second one, I think the third one, a little bit more narratively better. But I can't stand these movies.
Nope. And I get it. I mean, there aren't ones that I'm not going to jump out the window to see this either. I'm just kind of like, pirates, weird timing. I mean, when it came out, there wasn't, if I remember right, there wasn't a whole lot surrounding it. But
Well, no, and when the first one came out, that was huge. That was huge for Disney. That
oh,
was
it was.
that was them putting their foot back into live action movies again.
And it was good timing to the point where it was so popular, mind you. Pirates of the Caribbean actually got a spot in what was it, Kingdom Hearts 2? It was actually a world.
Oh yeah.
Which, like, I was like, wow. I mean, considering how much that's more about animation and everything. So yeah, that was a major touch. But I mean, come on, in an age with we're talking Marvel and aliens and everything,
No, this is I don't think there's an audience for it, and I hope it dies. I hope the franchise. Well, let me rephrase. I hope it goes away for a while.
yeah,
These things never die, and I do think that there's something good there, but they lost it a long time ago, and maybe
yeah.
somebody can find it again. June 2nd, Wonder Woman.
Woo! Mad hype.
This is
I'm kidding.
This is like when you get when you finally get the nerve to ask that girl out on a date, and you're so nervous because you just don't want it to go badly. That's this movie for me. I almost don't want to see this because I'm afraid it's going to be bad, because you've heard those rumors from people who worked at Warner Brothers that this movie is a hodgepodge mess.
Which is so sad because you want to. I want to see this succeed.
Yeah, that's my whole point. I do too. They need it to.
Yeah.
They really kind of need it to. It looks cool. The actors for Wonder Woman, spot on.
Yep.
Awesome. Hot and badass at the same time, pulling it off. Yeah, I don't know. I won't go see this the opening night. I will wait and see what people say about it. Well, wait, and that's not necessarily true, because definitely people get to review these things beforehand. So, I will definitely be listening to reviews before I go and see this.
Fair enough.
And I may be, if it's bad, I may be bringing Kleenex.
Middle of the month, you got The Mummy, on the 9th. Then the Cars 3 on the 16th.
Whoa, whoa, whoa! You can't just pass up the Mummy, sir.
I'm lumping them both together.
And you're
Mind you.
lumping the Mummy and Cars 3 together
Why not? Because it's the
the
same
Mummy,
genre, right? No.
because the Mummy is the start of a new monster universe.
Wait. Okay, am I thinking the right Mummy series with?
It's a reboot.
Okay, it's a restart. All right. I'm with
Yeah, so yeah, they're rebooting it. Now they remember the Dracula movie that came out about 4 or 5 years ago,
you. Yep.
where they actually kind of made him a good guy.
Yep.
But it didn't do too well. That was going to actually be the beginning after they decided that Universal decided they wanted to do this. This is going to be they decided not to do that with that movie. This is the start. The Mummy is the start of a new monster universe. We get the Mummy, Jekyll and Hyde, Frankenstein, Dracula, Wolfman. That's noteworthy. That doesn't, you don't lump that with Cars 3. That gets mentioned. Tom
Okay.
Cruise.
Okay, I'll
playing a
lump
guy
it.
who's you're gonna lump it anyways. All
No,
right.
I'll lump. I was gonna say this. I'll lump it with Despicable Me 3.
Despicable Me 3. Hey, those are fun.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the second one. Maybe I'll see it. I don't know. Cars 3. And again, another animation. I love animation, but these movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not really into it. Now, and I have to take it back, sir, because I said that Pirates of the Caribbean was probably the only movie on this list I wanted gone. It's not
Right.
true. Transformers: The Last Night, 23rd. I hope this is the one where people finally stop going and seeing these movies.
Is it Michael Bay?
It is. It is.
All right.
I love the Transformers. When I was talking earlier about, joking around seeing something that's my jam, Transformers are my goddamn jam. I always have been. I'm not a fan of the Armada and blah blah blah, but I mean, I was a kid in the '80s, and Transformers were the coolest thing ever, and they still are in a lot of ways. And if you forget that they're Transformers, you can pull yourself away from what you know that it should be. Some of these Transformer movies are bearable. This one looks really bad, though. Have you even watched a trailer for it?
No, I'm not going to.
I won't go see this, and I don't recommend anyone else does either, because it will not change until these stop making money. Period. They know that there's a huge fan base
Yep.
for Transformers that don't like these movies, but they're still making a bunch of money.
Yeah.
So they still make them.
Well, I say roll it up, put it in the back of the car, check out July, because this is going to be a good month.
Yes, it is.
Especially right on the 7th, Spider-Man: Homecoming. I am amped for this. My favorite superhero.
Yes.
For coming right on the heels of Civil War, the reintroduction of Spider-Man to the story, and of course, just in time, right before Avengers. Couldn't be more excited to check this out and to see what they're going to do. Of course, Spider-Man is well-treaded ground by this point. We know his story. We know his origin.
Mm-hmm. And we're not getting it again.
Thank goodness. So hopefully we can jump right into a good amount of plot. And going along with that too, well, it's not a superhero movie. Planet of the Apes. You know what?
More for the Planet of the Apes.
You know what? I've enjoyed these.
No, they're good.
Yeah.
The last one was really good. This one looks really good.
Yeah.
This is the same. We were just talking about this director. He's the one that's going to be doing the Batman movie.
Okay. Cool.
This looks really good. I will definitely be going to the theater for those two. We're going to skip by the next one here because I don't think you know what the hell it is, and we're going to talk about the Dark Tower.
Right on. Yeah, I've got a couple of good friends who've read all the books to Dark Tower. Now, I've not read them myself by Stephen King. Heard
this is on your list.
It is on my list. I've heard great things, and for one of the first times, I'm going to do a reverse introduction. Most of the time, something has a real prolific book series to it. I'll read that first. Going to skip that. I'm going to see what the movie treatment does for this first, and check it out because I'm loving what I'm reading about this just from afar.
I enjoy Stephen King's work. I've never picked up one of his books and read it. I like a lot of the movies. A lot of them are also misses, but I've heard so much good stuff about the Dark Tower. I'm very much looking forward to this. Now, coming out on the same day, and I want to skip this one real quick, Atomic Blonde, coming out on the 28th.
Yeah, you got me there. You
You
got
laugh.
me there. Go
And
on.
before the show, I didn't know it either. I'm going to recommend everyone, including you, go and watch the trailer for Atomic Blonde. It's not what you think. This movie looks fantastic.
All right.
It's a spy flick with Charlize Theron as the lead role. It looks awesome. I will definitely be going to see this.
Awesome.
Um, August doesn't have much going on. You got the Emoji Movie, notable because of Patrick Stewart, who we were talking about all
Yep.
night tonight.
Yep.
He's playing Poop. That's a thing. People were mad about it. Patrick Stewart gets to do whatever the hell he wants. If Patrick Stewart wants to play Poop, he's playing Poop. And no one's going to say anything about it. He will be the best Poop we've ever seen on screen.
He will be the knighted Poop, as he
Yep.
is.
Besides that, on the 25th, Terminator 2: Judgment Day coming out on 3D. I didn't even know that was going to be a thing until I started going through the list for this year.
Yeah, I'll take a pass.
Hey, there's not a lot going on in August, so maybe if I'm really feeling the need to go see a movie, I'm not a fan of 3D, but seeing that movie in 3D, maybe, I don't know. Probably not. Probably not.
Can't blame you.
Okay, September. Interesting movies in September. No, okay, so for those of most of you probably understand this. Most of the time, we get 2 Marvel movies a year from Marvel Studios.
Right.
This year, we get 3 because Sony's coming out with Spider-Man: Homecoming. Going through the list, I forgot. Technically, this is a movie. We are getting 4 Marvel Studio movies. We're getting 4 movies from the MCU. The Inhumans movie. And I say that with quotes. I do the little air quote thing that's really annoying.
Yep.
The Inhumans movie comes out September 1st. And what this is, if you don't know, this is coming out exclusively on IMAX. It is basically the first 2, it's my understanding, it's the first 2 episodes of what is a new series for the Inhumans, which will then start on ABC on the 26th of that month. But they're releasing this first. This was once going to just be a movie, but Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. really delved
I was
into
just
the
about to say that. Yeah.
In fact, we're going to see some of those characters, but they really wanted to do this in IMAX. The IMAX is involved with the creation of this to a heavy degree, which is why I think we're going to be getting this 2-hour release, which actually without commercials, if it's also built for commercials, it's going to be about an hour and a half, a little bit more than that. So it's about movie length. So four MCU movies this year. That's crazy.
Love it.
The It remake, talking about Stephen King again, comes out September 8th.
Right.
I don't... Fine. I'm cool. Whatever. If people want to see it, that's great. I'm old enough to where I remember the miniseries that came out on TV for this, which did a fantastic job.
Yeah.
I don't need to see it again, but if people want to see it again, there you go. You got one coming up.
And then what's fill me in on what was
Flatliners?
It? Flatliners, yeah.
Do you not know Flatliners?
I don't.
This is a little bit off for you. I was a tween when this came out, which means that you're a toddler.
Toddler.
You are. Well, you're what, 4, 5, 6 or something at this point. Came out late 80s. Am I wrong?
Trying to see.
You're what, 7 years younger than me, right?
7 years, yeah. Yeah. If it was late 80s, I would have only been like.
If
like
I'm a
3 or 4.
tween, you're playing with Lincoln Logs and Big Wheels. So
Legos. Oh.
So Flatliners was a great thriller movie that came out. It's a story about a bunch of frankly narcissistic student doctors who find a way to die and bring themselves back to life. But when they do that, when they bring themselves back to life, they bring back evil entities with them that haunt them.
Huh.
It's an interesting movie. It's very late 80s, but at the same time, it was a bit groundbreaking. You had a lot of great actors for that. Most significant, Kiefer Sutherland.
Yeah.
We're getting a new Flatliners. Is a sequel / reboot. So, because Kiefer Sutherland is playing his same character again, but this is a bit of a reboot. It's been about 30 years. So, they're redoing this basically, but they're still continuing with the same storyline from before. It was a blast. It was like one of the first. It was rated R, I think. So it was one of the first times I really got to get into one of those when I was a kid. But it was good. It was scary as hell. Oh, also Kevin Bacon in it. I know I'm forgetting a couple others as well. Good movie. Good movie. Recommend it. I will probably be going to see this.
Cool. Very cool. Well, that puts us in frame for the fall here, and I think it's going
Three
to
months
be
left.
it's going to be a killer close to the year. Look, the one you've got one
I,
above this start.
yeah, I just want to comment real quick on this. A little surprised. Summer's a bit weak. Summer gets
Yeah,
heavy. June,
yeah,
July, August, September, in large
it's
part for
light.
what we normally get, very light. But then, yeah, the ending of the year is humongous.
Yeah, so you got Kingman. Another one you should fill me on. Kingman: The Golden Circle on the 6th of October.
Did you not see Kingman? The
I've
first
not
that
seen
came
that
out.
either.
Oh, go watch Kingman. Then we'll talk.
Gotcha.
That's
But
that's all. Seriously, that's all. And that's
okay,
all. Yeah, go watch the first Kingman. Came out about 2 years ago. Went out on saw that on a date, and that was a lot of fun. She loved it. She loved it more than I did. It is a vicious movie based on British spies and such, but it's based off a comic, or at least that's the origins of the stories. So, but it's about British spies and such. You need to see it. You'll see this. You'll rent this, and you'll be like, I can't believe I missed it. And then there's Blade Runner 2049. I have been looking forward to this ever since they've announced that they're going to make a sequel.
oh yeah.
Blade Runner for me, growing up, was just, dude, that movie blew my
Here's
mind as a
he,
kid.
Dude. Here's the movie. I mean, just the idea of I remember how much it freaked me out about the replicants and everything, and just what the kind of world this presented. I don't think we really have to tread much ground here with how breaking Blade Runner was.
There's still parts of this that I still don't understand. And that's because
Absolutely,
they made so many different versions. That
absolutely,
is he a replicant or not? Are we going to find out?
right.
Which version do they go with? Because that all depends. It's going to be really interesting. I hope it's going to be very hard to be as groundbreaking as it was so long ago. But
Of course.
yeah, Blade Runner 2049 coming out October 6th. Looking forward to it, but not quite as much as My Little Pony the movie.
Oh man. Of course not. You got your Fluttershy cosplay ready?
I'm a brony for life.
All right, that's what I wanted to hear.
This movie, I have to take it back again. There is another movie I wish wasn't on this list.
Skippable.
My
Skippable.
Little Pony. Oh no, that's okay. I'm not. That's not even a rental. In fact, I hope I forget that's happening. But one thing I'm definitely looking forward to, unnamed Cloverfield movie. This actually does have a name, but it's not sure if they're going to switch it. It's just like 10 Cloverfield Lane,
Right.
where it was a completely different movie. They hit it. John Goodman even faked a heart attack so that he could go shoot his part of the movie without anyone knowing. That's how they are with these
Wow.
things. It's even crazy that they even know, because we didn't know about 10 Cloverfield Lane until 2 months before it came out.
Wow.
And that was only because they came out with a trailer, because they let people know that it was a thing. But this one's been a little bit more obvious. Looking forward to this one, obviously. Hopefully more than a spiritual sequel like the last one. They're
Right.
saying that they're going to tie all these together. Have you seen either of the Cloverfield movies yet?
The first I did.
Okay, you need to see. I mean, they're great. They're great movies. Cloverfield, my favorite horror movie ever. 10 Cloverfield Lane is right up there as well. Great movies. Saw Legacy comes out the same day. Again, I thought it was noteworthy. More of like,
Yeah.
they're still making these.
That was my that was actually my thought. Like these are still
They're
getting
fun.
cranked out. Yeah, I get it. I get
The
it.
first one was really good.
Yeah.
I hate to be that guy where you hear that the first one was really. It was the first one was really good, and some of them are good scares. I mean, there's definitely some parts of those movies, like when the person puts their arm in the needles. No.
No, no, no,
No!
no, 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 no.
But
Man.
yeah, it's October maybe.
November looks amazing.
Yeah,
Parts of it. You got, what was it? You mentioned a tentative November release of Creed 2.
Tentative release date. That's all they've got right now for Creed 2. Might come out in November, might not. But I haven't seen Creed 1 yet. I need to see that.
Right.
Have you seen it?
I have not.
I hear it's so good.
Well, I'm sorry. Every time I hear Creed, I keep thinking of Higher, but I'm just going to leave that alone. Never mind. Never mind.
Maybe that's what maybe you need to see to get that out of your head.
Maybe. Uh,
Apollo, man, Apollo Creed,
all right.
Apollo Creed's son.
Oh man, it's
Um,
it's just an exhibition match for goodness sake. Oh,
those are so good. Those movies are so good. I remember,
oh
just
yeah.
real quick, talking to an ex-girlfriend of mine. She was panning Sylvester Stallone. I'm like, are you out of your mind,
Oh come on, Rocky ended the cold.
Rocky?
That ended the Cold War.
Well, no,
Uh,
but I mean, okay, some of those Rocky movies are very cheesy, but some of those Rocky movies, some of those Rambo movies are really
oh
good.
yeah,
I mean, that is good directing, that's good acting, that is good
it is.
writing. I mean, yeah, you can't look at Rambo 3 and say, hey, that's Oscar Gold right there, but you can look at Rambo 1 and the story they were trying to tell with that.
Yeah,
I mean, that's just good shit. And same with I would say the first two Rockies. Then they went for then it was the money grab after that.
yeah.
But then you get down to Rocky Balboa. Did you see the last one before Creed?
I did not. Wait. The one this was the last one where he's pretty much like into his career, and
Yeah,
it was.
he has a restaurant.
Yep, I remember. I did see that one.
That is so good.
Yeah.
That is such a good movie, and I hear Creed's even better. I need to see that now that we're talking about. But November 3rd,
Here we
Thor
go.
Ragnarok.
Here we go.
Yep.
Probably, this is one that I put on par for me personally, or high, or even higher than Spider-Man. I am extremely amped for this. This was a really big deal in the comics when it was out. Really expecting a big expansion of the Asgardian mythos we have built up from the Valkyries to, of course, Thor himself, Heimdall, and if they're going to bring in Surtur into the story, the rest. Plus, I mean, this has already been trucked as a buddy flick for Thor and Hulk.
Mm-hmm.
I,
Thor and Hulk buddy flick. That
I,
alone.
yeah, this is. I think it's going to be one of the biggest releases we get before main Avengers, and I can't be asking more Marvel hype than this right now.
This
So
almost seems like a bet because
yeah,
the first two, the Thor one was okay. Thor 2, I think, really ranks as one of the least liked Marvel movies.
yeah, it
Thor
was just.
I went and saw Thor 2 in the theater. 10 minutes after I saw it, I'm like, I can't remember a damn thing I just saw. Can you remember Thor 2 really well?
Thor 2, the most I remember about it was the Infinity Gem.
Right. Well, do you even remember the name of it?
What? But no,
Thor 2 what?
no,
What was it? It was the Dark World.
yeah, no.
You don't remember? I don't remember that movie.
Look,
I've watched it on TV. It's been on TV. I still don't remember that movie.
here's the biggest thing about it, especially with Thor 3, how they're going to build on that. 'Cause bear in mind, I believe 2 ended with Loki being on the throne.
Right.
He
Yep.
had tricked Thor. Thor had gone off. He was assuming Odin was there. We don't know his whereabouts right now. Really interested to see where Asgard's standing with all that now, especially
Right.
with.
Which, by the way, I have seen Doctor Strange now. Came out on DVD.
Oh,
I have
good man,
seen it now.
good
Yep.
man.
Got a after credit scene with Thor in there, so they're setting it up.
Yep.
Yeah, no, this is going to be great, and we're getting towards the end of the year, which means we're going into the next year, which is when Avengers: Infinity War comes out. I do not remember if this is the last movie before Avengers: Infinity War. It might be.
I need to look. I need to look too. I want to say it is.
It might be.
But
No, it's not. It's not. There's one more. We've talked about this a couple weeks ago. The last two things before Avengers: Infinity War is Black Panther and the Defenders.
cool.
So there will be one more before Avengers: Infinity War, and they may tie. It's my understanding that they've decided that they will tie in the Netflix show somehow, but they have not married those things very much. Other than they keep saying, yeah, no, that's all in the same universe, but they haven't really used each other. So that'll be nice to see. But okay, so if Wonder Woman scares you, Justice League is going to scare you even more.
Yeah.
November 17th. For me, this all depends on how Wonder Woman does. If Wonder Woman does great,
yeah.
this could be the biggest selling movie of the year. If Wonder Woman does poorly, this may be the movie that resets the DC universe.
Could. I mean, you may as well after this, if you have a reset, just call the next one Infinite Crisis and stamp a seal on it.
I so don't care about Cyborg or Aquaman. I just don't. Make me care. I will go see this. I will make me care.
Yeah.
That is your job to make me care. I care about Batman. I care about Superman. You've made me care about Wonder Woman.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, this is where they're really getting. where Batman v Superman started this universe, this movie has the job of not only correcting what they've gotten wrong, but also cementing in this universe. It's got one hell of a job to do. Zack Snyder's at the helm again, so I'm really not confident at all.
Yeah, it's uphill for DC.
Especially with the
Just
knee-jerk reaction that they had from Suicide Squad and all the corrections and changes they did because Batman v Superman did so poorly,
right.
and that movie ended up shit. But it is Justice League.
So
I'm going into it even-minded,
good.
but I still don't care about Aquaman and Cyborg.
All right, I was gonna say, don't come crying when you see the Legion of Doom. All weird. I don't know.
And Flash. Also, I care about Flash.
Yeah.
Flash is always fun. Okay, December, and we're going to say the second one first.
Fair
Because
enough.
you say the first one last because it's just, it is
Yeah.
what it is.
Yeah.
Jumanji reboot. Were you a Jumanji fan?
Robin Williams, right?
Yeah.
Can't say I was a fan. I mean, I saw it, but
Mhm.
so I don't have a whole lot to say about this one. I mean, Jumanji is
This
surprisingly.
has The Rock.
Yeah. What?
Yeah, The Rock's in it.
Wow. Okay.
He's the lead guy. It's not, he's obviously not playing the role of Robin Williams' character. It
Right.
is a reboot, but they're telling a different story.
Okay. I mean,
It's my understanding a lot of this is going to take place in the Jumanji or world.
hey, surprise me. Cool.
I'm in the same way. Yeah.
Yeah.
The first one was fun. First
Yeah.
one was groundbreaking in the special effects.
Exactly. I
I
remember.
don't dislike this, but I'm definitely not in their demographic for it. But at the same time, when you throw The Rock in there, that kind of tells me that maybe you are trying to get my demographic
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
So,
Um,
yeah, sure. But it's my understanding, and maybe I had my notes wrong, but I think that comes out the same day as Star Wars: The Last Jedi. That is
Here it is. I mean, if that is true, what a day to pick.
Any other day.
Any
Pick
other day.
Pick a Sunday.
It's
Pick Christmas.
this would be overshadowed so hard. I don't even know where to begin. But
Jumanji reboot cannot dethrone the king.
no, no.
Even if you're not a fan of Star Wars,
No,
you cannot
no.
deny it. It is the king of theater.
It is, and we know, especially off the heels of the last movie, this movie is going to be massive in terms of turnout. So,
Yep.
man,
There's a lot of good stuff coming out about this. Now that some time has passed, some people, you even, just like the prequels, you have your Force Awaken haters.
Yep.
But I don't, chill out, people. It was fine. It was, yes, it was a little bit too, there's definitely a few too many similarities between it and The New Hope. But that's okay. They're not only are they continuing on with the most impossible sequel to ever make, but just because of the anticipation and the craziness behind it, but you're also introducing this to a whole new generation. It had been 10 years, I think, since the last Star Wars movie, which was Episode 3.
Yep.
Come on. No, The Force Awakens, it's not just fine. It's a good movie. It's fun. It's exactly what it should be. Maybe a little bit too much like Episode 4, but that's almost like a compliment.
Yeah.
You're too much like the original Star Wars. That's not how I mean it, but no. But The Last Jedi, I'm hearing so many good things about it.
Yeah.
I could spoil some things. I mean, there's been some definitive information that's come out. I will only say this: if people want to see Luke Skywalker kicking some serious ass, you're gonna see it.
Love it.
You're gonna see what the most powerful Jedi is like after 30 years from the last time we saw him kicking ass.
Woo! Good stuff. Good stuff to look forward to, man. But hey, there you go. I mean, I think we've covered a good breadth of that. Not just with our Logan review earlier, but just a synopsis, just what the rest of you have to look forward to this year. What's coming. So, hey, whether that's Marvel you're into, whether you're just looking for some good hack and slash horror, whatever it is, I think there's something for a lot of palates here. But hey, let us know. There's some specific you're really digging that you really can't wait to watch. Again, like, favorite, comment, subscribe, of course, and please throw us a line, toss a line. It's like HeySawMedia@gmail.com. But till next time, we will catch you on the flip side. We're should we spoil it a little
Catch you
bit
on
more?
the flippity flip.
Next time, we'll have some more news regarding gaming specifically. But for me, I'm gonna go hit my bunker, try to watch some more Luke Cage, maybe some Voltron. Yeah, just so get Chris off my back about that.
That's right.
But hey, till then, thank you everybody for tuning in. You have a great weekend. Take it easy.